Hello, everybody. We are back with another episode of Ministry Matters. This is our fourth episode. Remember that Ministry Matters is twofold. We're talking about why it matters as far as the importance that our ministries have to the church, to the community, all those. And of course, matters as in what comprises the ministries that we have in the church. So today we're going to interview Lauren Butler. She is our children's ministry coordinator, and we're going to interview Chasity, Moeller, and she's our preschool ministry coordinator. So we're going to interview them at the same time, give you an opportunity to see where they've come from, what their childhood, what some of their life experiences are like, and how they have a passion for reaching children for Christ. So as we begin, I'm just going to ask them some questions about how long y'all been at First Baptist Church, a member, and then how long you've been at your current position. I know there's a big difference between the two of you. So,
We've been at FBC for almost 20 years. We moved to Searcy from Bentonville up in northwest Arkansas, and this was what made Searcy home for us. When we first got here, we told everyone we're going home as soon as he finishes college. We were going back to our family.
That didn't happen, huh?
No, kind of. Don't know where that kind of fell apart, but if it hadn't been for this church, we probably would have. This became home. It made Searcy home for us.
Oh, that's good. So you've been the preschool ministry coordinator for
a year.
Has it been a little over a year?
A little over a year.
Chastity's
Longest
story,
interim position ever.
Chastity's story is fun because it started as an interim and it kind of bloomed into more than that. But we're very appreciative of it. What about you, Lauren?
Well, I have been as a member of FBC for about 2 years now. I literally became a member the day I got hired as the children's director. But I was going here with my fiance at the time, who's now my husband. And then as I became the coordinator, I became a member of the actual church. So.
Well, you know that happens with the rest of us. Taylor and Michael and Pastor and I have been a member exactly how long.
Good. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
So it's the same thing. As we're the guys that went through, Pastor's going to go next week, but me and Taylor and Michael each, we talked about a little bit about where we grew up, what our family was like growing up, what kind of just how we grew up and things like that, and then a little bit about our family now, because family changes when you get married and have kids and things like that. So we'll start with Lauren this time, 'cause you get to go first this time.
So I am from Cabot, so not too far from here, and I started out at FBC in Cabot, and then a lot of my friends were going to a church called Mount Carmel, and so because that's where my friends went, I wanted to go there, so we switched, and that became my church home, and I went there from middle school on until I started coming to FBC Searcy. I lived with my mom, my dad, and my little brother, and we just lived in a quaint home in Cabot. When I started dating Justin, we split our time. He worked at Bryce Corporation at the time, and so on his Sundays that he worked, I would go to Mount Carmel with my parents, and then on Sundays that he was off work, we would come to FBC Searcy with his parents. And then we decided that this was going to be our church home, and so we got married, and then I became a member here, and then we had Graylin not too long after that, so that's where we've been.
Okay. So you moved. He already lived here. You lived in Cabot.
Yes.
Yes. So you've been in Searcy almost exactly in the same amount of time.
Pretty much, yeah. We got married in March, and then I got hired on in August.
Pretty quickly. What about your childhood?
Spent most of it in northwest Arkansas. We moved around some back and forth between Texas and northwest Arkansas. Earliest church memories were when we were in Texas. That's where I came to know Christ and was baptized, and our whole family went to church together. It was a big event. As we got older, we didn't go as much, and then I would take my brothers on the weekends, and because life was crazy and trying to keep up with everyone's work schedules, and then when Sean and I got married and we had our first child, we were ready to we wanted, like a lot of families, when you have that first child, you want that for your child. You want to get them back in church. So really, he's what brought us back into church and getting involved.
Sure. How long have y'all been married? When did y'all get married?
We got married in '96.
Okay.
So I graduated high school. We got married 6 months later.
Okay.
And then 3 years later, had our first child.
Okay.
And now we've got
So
4 kids.
I've got there the 3 Dylans in Conway, right? So.
Now we just had 2 separate sets of kids.
That's good.
Got 1 in college, and then we've got 3 that are all going to be in middle school this year.
Cool. That's pretty
It's
cool.
a whole nother world.
And now, yours is a lot different.
No, he's only one.
He's
so.
only one. So, and Justin, his family he grew up in this church, didn't he?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. They've been here a long time.
Yeah. So that's exciting. What about when you became a Christian? Tell us about that. Tell us about how that.
I was actually 7 years old. I was at Brick Hill Church Camp, which is in like the Hot Springs area, I believe. And I went to church camp, and when my parents dropped me off, I actually cried because I didn't want to stay. I was scared to death. I had never been away from my parents before. So I didn't want to go, or I didn't want to stay. I wanted to leave, but my mom said, no, you're going to stay. And I said, okay. And so a couple of days went by, and we had like these nighttime bonfire type things. And as you graduate out of the program, or out of the camp, when you get too old, they do like a graduation type ceremony. Well, I got really close with like my big sister in the thing, and she was graduating. And so during her graduation ceremony thing, we were sitting there and we were just talking, and she basically, I really don't know what came over me, but I felt like that was when it was my time. And so I asked the Lord into my heart, and I came back home from there, and that's where I got baptized. But when it came time to leave camp, I cried because I didn't want to leave. So it was kind of funny because I cried because I didn't want to stay, but then a week later I was crying because I didn't want to leave.
That's funny. That's funny. What about you, Chasity?
I remember we were living in Texas, and our entire family would go to church together. And I had bugged my family and everyone, and it was the, sneaking out of the pew to go down front kind of thing between everyone's legs because they were trying to keep us quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came time to be baptized, I guess I was terrified of the water. I was like, no one's putting me in. So my cousin got saved at the same time. And they were like, oh, she's going to. I was good then. I was like, I had someone else back there to be with me, so I was good.
That's exciting. And so the two of you have kind of a different background of educational things. So Lauren, you work with children all the time. Mm-hmm. And Chasity, education is not in children to teach school or any of those things. But it's pretty clear that both of you have a passion for children. Tell us how that passion has developed over the years, and how that what has kind of pushed you into saying, hey, you need to work with kids.
I can't really pinpoint a time. We've always been around kids, and it's always been part of life. Always enjoyed being around kids because they're straightforward with you and honest, and you're going to know right where you're at with them. When we first joined the church, it was, even before we started working with the preschool and volunteering as a VIP, and that kind of started it, and teaching the missions classes, and it just kind of grew from there. And then, our family's always been involved with everything our kids are doing, everything from the Scouts programs to, we were foster parents for a number of years. So we've always had a heart to be around kids. And
yeah, you've been involved in foster parenting and adoption stuff for a while.
Yeah. I have always loved kids. I actually grew up racing motocross, and so that was a big family-oriented thing. And all of my friends had younger siblings, and I would get in trouble because I would walk around the park with a kid on my hip at all times, and the kids were almost as big as me. And so I've just always loved children. Growing up, I wanted to be a NICU nurse, but then I could not bring myself to have to deal with the little babies and know whether or not they were going to live or not. And so I kind of went away from that and decided to go into education, because at least then I could make a difference in a kid's life without life or death situations. And so I've just always loved children. I'm in my summer of teaching, like we just ended, and I'm watching my nieces, and I have Graylin, and so just always loved kids.
Where did you go to college?
I went to Arkansas Tech in Russellville.
Arkansas Tech. Now,
Yes.
you went to Harding.
Went to Harding.
Now, hers is a children. Yours is actually accounting.
yeah, I've got
isn't
an
it?
accounting degree.
Yes.
So you've done a lot of accounting stuff,
Yeah.
because you've worked for a church in town that's on accounting. Well, let's do something else. Let's move to the importance that these ministries have. And this is a big, broad-based question, so you can pick and choose how you want to answer it. Why is our ministry to preschoolers and children so important?
Well, I mean, for me, the children are the future. And if we are not setting that foundation now, we're not going to have a foundation later. With everything that's going on in our world, we have got to do better as the adults for our children. And so if our children's ministry is not thriving and doing what it's supposed to be, our world's never going to change. We're not going to be any better. We're not going to continue to bring people to Jesus and to have more Christians in the world if we don't start with our kids. Because it's a lot harder to change an adult's mind than it is to change a child's mind.
And showing them at this age how much the church loves them and cares for them and that they're important just helps kind of reinforce that as they get older, and we want to pour more and more into them, that they know it's a safe place to come and that they're wanted and welcome.
Okay. Well, okay, so that's the working with the children and, you know, helping them is important, but your ministry is not really all about children. I mean, y'all's ministries are family ministries. Tell us a little bit about why it's so important that the parents are involved in the two of your ministries.
And really, the time we get with the kids is so short compared to the time the parents have with them. And you know, we really want to support not only what we can teach the kids while they're here, because we know they're going to go out and teach everyone around them because they're not shy about letting everyone know what they think. But to know the parents, let them know they're not alone. Mm-hmm. We've been in those situations. We know what it's like to raise little kids and how stressful it can be and chaotic, and you feel like you're doing it wrong half the time when everyone's in the exact same boat you are. So just letting them know they have a support system too to help them, you know, even in the little things. If they can sing a song with them in the car, they've touched that part of their child's life.
Well, and for me, I kind of take it back to school. We can do only so little at school. It's just kind of like if you have a kid you're trying to teach manners. If you're teaching them those manners at school, but then they go home and those aren't an expectation, they're not going to learn them. And that's kind of how it is here. We only see them on Sundays, and some kids we only see on Wednesdays. So if we're only seeing them 2 days a week, what are the other 5 days a week happening? So if we don't have that same consistency and those same expectations at home that we do at church, then they're not going to grow like they need to grow. So we have to have that constant, it's a partnership. It's not church and home. We're one thing.
Working together
Yes.
to good things. Yeah. Okay, so individually, I was thinking about some things. Now, you actually work for the Cabot Public Schools, and you teach what grade?
First grade.
You teach first grade.
Yes.
Okay, so how is teaching? How is it different dealing with kids in the public schools and then coming and dealing with the kids here at church?
Well, public school is definitely a scary place right now, and you're not allowed to really be open with your faith. And so being at church is nice because the kids are coming here and they know what they're getting when they come here. So being able to talk about my faith and my religion with the kids here is huge. In the classroom, it has to be student-led, whereas here I can be the adult and I can help lead them to where they're supposed to go. So I really enjoy that because my passion is definitely to grow a child, and I can only do so much at school without it being student-led. A student can come to me and say, hey, can we listen to this song? And absolutely I can play it, but I can't play the song without someone asking me. So to know that I can play what I want to play and talk about whatever I want to talk about at church is very much, I guess, a nicer thing. I don't know what I'm trying to say there,
Sure.
but makes my heart happier, I guess.
So, but you kind of enjoy being involved in both. It's kind of exciting to. Now, I know you don't teach the same kids here you teach at school.
No, not
but
at all.
It's still, you can tell you're excited about that. About preschool ministry, I was thinking about this. A lot of times when people talk about preschool ministry, we'll use words like nursery and child care. And we've been trying to move more using the word ministry and some other words. Tell us why and how your ministry is really more than just child care, just taking care of the kids.
If you even walk by the doors, you know there's never a dull moment down in the preschool area. There's always something going on because that's how our kids learn. They're learning not only that God loves them and that they're important, but they're learning how to socialize with each other, how to, share and, not go after each other. They're learning what a safe place is.
Right.
There's so much more going on down there. I'm sure at times it looks like it's just organized chaos, But between the songs and the various different activities we do, the stories, the songs, the arts and crafts that I'm sure end up everywhere, you know, they just get so much more out of it.
Yeah, yeah. It's important to remember that we're not just taking care of kids. We're doing that.
Yes.
But there's more to it than that. There's a whole lot of ministry going, because even infants
Yes.
are learning things about God. They may not be voicing that, but we're teaching them kindness. I like the way that you put that. So Ministry Matters is twofold, so we have to know a little bit about y'all in the ministry. We want to know some of the nuts and bolts, so to speak, about your ministry. So each of you, what kinds of activities and ministry type things are available for preschoolers and families or children and families here at the church?
Let's see, on Sundays, we do have a time where the little ones are, you know, have just songs and stories. We've got our life group, or Sunday school time is what the little ones always
What
call
kind
it.
of
They went to
traditional
Sunday
Sunday?
school.
It's kind
Yes.
of a traditional Sunday school type.
And then we have extended time where they still have lessons, and the lessons during the extended time are more life lessons to tie what they've been learning during the Sunday school time into their everyday life. So they get that life connection with the Bible. And our older kids, our kindergarten and our 4-year-olds, have a worship time with that as well. And of course, we have free time where we go run and play. Then we have choir for our preschoolers. We have mission activities for them as well, where they learn about missionaries in other parts of the country. I think their favorite part of that is the food night at the end of the month. Whatever country we've been doing,
It's just
we're
fun.
going to eat something.
Yum.
Which, you know, kind of takes them out of their little comfort shells. They try something new. There's always that one that hates it and ends up loving it by the end of the time.
Right.
And wants, why can't we have this snack every week? We have Awanas as well as the older kids do. Our younger ones have Awanas as well and absolutely love it. There's always something going on.
Yeah, I think sometimes people forget that the Sunday school classes that we call life groups for the adults, but the Sunday school classes for the kids and extended teaching care are both teaching and learning times. I think sometimes we forget. We think, okay, they're going to go to Sunday school and then they're going to play the rest of the morning. Well, not the rest of the morning, but there are things that go into both of those. What children?
So we have the 1st through 6th graders up here, and we have Sunday mornings, which is our traditional life group time, and they use the Gospel Project. And so when they get up here in the morning, they are able to, we have some iPad stations, we have books, we have our crayon station that we're in right now, where they kind of just play and mingle with each other. And then a lot of our teachers at 9:15 hit it hard. They close their doors and they get started on their Sunday school lessons. So we have that on Sundays. On Wednesdays, we have our Awana, like Chasity was saying, and we have Sparks, and then our Truth and Training. And so this is great, and that actually is for kindergarten through 6th grade. So we bring our kindergartners up from the preschool area and let them come into the child care area for Awana. But then during the summer, we have our church camps. We normally do a kids' night every week, and then we have kids' events. Now, things are a little different this summer with COVID-19 and all that going on, but for the most part, every summer we have events and kids clubs. So.
Right. And so the preteens, actually in front of me,
They-
behind you guys, they actually use a preteen
Yeah.
curriculum, don't they?
Yes, they don't use the Gospel Project, and neither do the 1st graders. It's 2nd through 4th graders that use the Gospel Project.
Okay.
So
All right. And everybody loves camp. VBS, we still got
we
VBS.
do have VBS. We had to move it back a little this year, but it's okay. We're still going to have it, and it's going to be just as much fun as normal.
Yep. That's an exciting thing. Well, let's do this because we've done this with all the guys. If you are going to talk about the biggest needs that your ministry has, what are some of those needs? What are some of the biggest important needs that you have in preschool and children's ministries?
Well, for me, we need life group leaders. We need men and women that are willing to step up and really lead our class. We have 3 classes that only have 1 leader in each. And our 5th and 6th graders, our preteens, they have a lot of kids in that class. And they have a lot of boys. So a male leader would be awesome to have in there, just to kind of set that foundation for them before they head on up to Michael and the youth. And so we really need leaders.
Okay.
That's our biggest.
That's the big thing,
Yeah.
isn't it? Because you've got people that go to camp and all the, but
Right.
getting the leaders on Sunday mornings is a really big deal,
Yeah.
isn't it? What about preschool? It's kind of the same thing.
Having volunteers, not just during that Sunday school time, but during the extended services and
Yeah.
sessions and, Sunday night and Wednesday nights. And our volunteers are amazing. We couldn't do what we do without them, but there's always a need for more, even if it's not on a consistent schedule, if you're willing to substitute and just
Right.
step in every now and then.
Okay. So if someone is going to, each of us have been through kind of this process. If someone's going to say, I want to volunteer or serve in your ministry, there are a lot of different ways that they can do that, but they would need to kind of tell you, hey, I'd like to be willing to do this, because sometimes you don't know who those people are, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So they would need to talk. Now, I understand, and people are going to understand the practicality that they will have to do a background check and some
Right,
of those
to
things
keep
to
our
work
kids
with
safe.
children's ministry, because we're trying to keep them safe. Our security team, with the things we've done lately, are keeping more of them safe. So if they really just wanted to volunteer, really, it's going to call y'all, right?
Yeah.
And say, hey, I might be interested in doing this, and then you can tell them more about that.
And we need volunteers not just for leaders in the classroom, but on Sunday mornings, we like to have adults up here to interact with the kids before they go into their classes. So if you don't feel led that you can be a leader of a classroom, then can you hand out hugs and high fives to kids as they walk through?
Right.
Just easy things like that. They just need to see more adult interaction and realize that this is a safe place they can go. And parents need to be comfortable to be able to drop their kids off and know that they're looked after.
Right.
And so,
Right, and the leaders we have up in this area, and you're,
Yeah.
some of them that are there now are seasoned
Yes.
leaders that have been doing this for years. So if someone wanted to be a leader, there are lots of mentors that could be out there to say, hey, let me help you be a really good children's leader. And it's not, I've always said, it's not just limited to parents, right?
right.
I
no.
mean, if you have a college kid, you can still work in preschool or children's ministry.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the kids love
And
that.
our senior
Oh,
adults
yeah.
work. We got a lot of
Yeah.
senior adults working in preschool.
And we
children's
have some of the
ministry,
youth
don't we?
that
I was
help.
about to say, the kids love when the youth and the college kids come
Yeah.
back. And
Instant
'cause-
superhero
yeah,
status.
exactly.
and stuff.
That's their favorite. So.
Right. And we've had a number of youth, hadn't we?
Oh, yeah.
Well, before we go then, I do want to do one very important thing, and we've done this with all the three guys, we'll do that with Pastor next week. Tell us some specific things that we can pray for you and your family and your ministries.
Well, for me and my family specifically, really that's not just us, but in everything, but figuring out the unknown right now is very up in the air. Being a teacher, I don't know what August is going to look like, and I don't know what my kids are going to look like, and that doesn't affect me, but that also affects our children here. A lot of them are scared. They miss their comfort. We don't realize how important school really is, not just for academics, but we have kids that don't get to eat and they don't get loved at home. So just for us to be able to get back to where we're able to be with these kids and love them and show them that somebody does care is huge. But yeah.
And kids need to socialize.
Yeah,
They need to be with each
just
other,
like
with their
adults do.
friends.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They need that love and support.
Okay. What about you?
And it shows. Not only for our volunteers as they prepare to come back, but our families and as kids, because especially with preschoolers, they've been home with mom and dad and families for months. It's going to be, as much as they're excited to come back, and they probably will talk about wanting to come back, have that grace with them, because they're going to be scared to be dropped off again, even when it's the people they know. It's a change in their routine.
Yeah.
Well, and they don't know you anymore, especially, with Graylin. We
The
saw
little
his
ones, yeah.
babysitter last weekend, and he didn't know her. And she watched him all year long.
He's not around the people.
He
that
hasn't
he's
been
normally
around her since
Yeah.
March,
So
and
it's
so he
gonna
was very
change.
timid to go see her.
And your kids are older, so they're, they still know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they love
but-
me.
But they
My
don't.
kids are like, see ya.
But they're still not seeing those adults and,
Yeah.
and children
Yeah.
they've seen on a daily basis. It's really big for yours because he's
Yeah.
so young that missing developmental
Right.
stages and seeing him grow and learning things. Yeah.
It'll be a completely different group of kids almost, even though it's the
Yeah,
same kids.
they'll all be in new classes.
And then you've got the older ones who are, well, what can we do? We've been told
Right.
we can't do this. Is
That's
it okay
right.
now?
Well, okay, then let me pray for the two of you. And everybody out there, you pray for these two ladies. Their responsibility is big, and they need support. And so I want y'all to remember that if you can help out in preschool or children's ministry, please call them. Let them know what you might can do to help them. But before we go, let's pray for them as we end our time together. Okay, Father, I thank you for these two ladies. And I thank you for what they mean to our church and what they mean to our families. And I pray that as they navigate changing times, as they navigate difficulties, that not only in their church, but in their home life and in their professional lives, that, Father, you would bless them, that you would help them deal with change, that you would help them continue to grow and to continue to lead others to grow. And, Father, as they minister to your children, we pray that you give them a gentle spirit that they always show towards us. Just continue to help them and continue to bless them and give them strength to do their jobs. And Father, we thank you and love you. And once again, we thank you for these two ladies and their dedication. In your name we pray. Amen. Thanks, ladies. I appreciate it.